We see these headlines all the time about massive global initiatives, right? But have you ever stopped to think about what it really takes to run one? What's the hidden machinery that keeps the whole thing ticking? Well, today we're going behind the scenes of a nonprofit giant, Better Cotton, to see just that. So let's just start with this question, because it really sets the stage. How on earth does a single organization manage to help almost 3 million farmers spread out all over the globe in 26 different countries? I mean, just the logistics of that are absolutely mind-boggling. And the answer? Well, it's not just about having a great mission or a lot of goodwill. The real secret sauce is the invisible stuff, the organizational plumbing, if you will, that connects every single grant, every report, and every farmer. That's the engine that really drives their impact. So, first things first, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale we're talking about here. Better Cotton isn't just another nonprofit. It is literally the world's largest cotton sustainability initiative, a true giant in its field. And this number? This is what it's all about. 2.9 million. That's not just some data point on a chart, right? We're talking about 2.9 million lives, families, and entire communities that this organization is directly working with and supporting. It's huge. So when you lay it all out, the footprint is just massive. Millions of farmers, dozens of countries, and a funding portfolio from global donors that's just getting bigger and bigger. All of this is only possible because of dedicated teams, and this is key, the systems that support them. But what happens when those very systems start to show some cracks? And here's the irony. Their incredible success was actually creating a massive problem on the inside. See, they had all these fantastic tools, but they weren't talking to each other. And that was creating friction that was starting to slow everything down. Okay, so the goal. It sounds so simple, right? Data from a grant should just flow seamlessly from their finance software, Certinia, over to their program management tool, Salesforce. But the reality? Oh, it was a mess. There was this big gap, and staff were literally stuck copying and pasting information into Excel spreadsheets just to connect their own systems. And this gap wasn't just an annoyance, it had huge consequences. Think about it. Every single time data was needed, someone had to do a ton of extra manual work. They were duplicating information, which is always risky, and they never had a truly real-time picture of what was happening in their own operations. But here's the amazing part. The people, they made it work. Despite this clunky, broken process, the grants and finance teams were so incredibly resilient that they just managed to hold it all together. Their hard work basically became the human bridge over this technology gap, and that really paved the way for what was about to happen next. For any growing organization, there's always a tipping point, a moment where the old way of doing things, all the workarounds, they just don't cut it anymore. And for Better Cotton, that tipping point was actually triggered by their own amazing success. And for Better Cotton, 3 big pressures were really starting to build up. First, more and more funding was coming in. That's great news, but it also meant that donor requirements were getting way more complicated. Pretty soon, having automation and real-time data wasn't just a nice to have, it became an absolute must. So, how do you fix something like this? It's not just about buying some fancy new software. They knew this had to be about people, about culture, just as much as it was about technology. It had to be a total transformation. So instead of some execs just saying, here's the new tool, use it, they did something much smarter. They took a totally human-centered approach. It was all about including everyone, listening to what staff actually needed day to day, and getting people on board to build a sense of ownership. That's how you manage the cultural side of a big change. And that led to this really clear common sense process. Step 1, get all the right people in the room from different teams and countries. Step 2, actually listen to them, understand their challenges. Only then, step 3, do you start designing a system that fits how they really work. And finally, step 4, you build that shared ownership so everyone's ready for the change. It's a plan to make sure the new system actually gets used. So what's the end game here? Well, the goal was way bigger than just fixing one little problem. It was about building an organization that was more integrated, more resilient, basically future-proofed. And this is where you really see how big their thinking was. This wasn't just about grants. It was about weaving everything together, finance, programs, fundraising, into one seamless system with grants management sitting right at the heart of it all. And the result of all this work? You get a system that's finally what it should be: lean, smart, and efficient. A system that lets them track performance with real data, that lines up with the best practices from around the world, and that makes them agile enough to handle whatever comes next. And I think this is a really important thing to remember. A big change like this isn't like flipping a switch. It's a journey, right? It's this ongoing process of checking in, engaging with people, and continuing to build. It's all about creating a digital backbone that can keep growing and scaling right along with their incredible mission. So we kind of end up back where we started, but now we see it totally differently, don't we? The story of Better Cotton really shows us that a huge global mission isn't just powered by passion. It's powered by its plumbing. It's that hidden framework, the smart, integrated systems working behind the scenes that truly unlocks an organization's power to change the world.